Hey guys, so I want to go over my league start plans for 0.2. I got this question quite a bit. What are you league starting? What are you playing? So I'll go over that in this video. This is going to be my plan. Now it's not really a guide, so keep that in mind. I will go over the builds, but yeah, it's not a guide because we don't know everything about the patch yet. There's 100 new support gems, 100 new uniques, and there's a bunch of skill changes that are coming into the game. As they say right here, many skills have that damage base or damage growth per level rebalanced. Now, there's could be a lot of nerfs or a lot of buffs, but yeah, until we see these changes, we don't really know what's going to be the best. No one knows what's going to be the best right now until we see these damage changes. But it's just my plan for the league start. So I have two plans right now. I'm most likely starting Deadeye. I'm not really convinced of Amazon for a league starter because I do think Amazon needs a lot of investment. I think Amazon is more so of a second character. I'm either going to do Gas Arrow Deadeye or a Deadeye Land Arrow. Both of these builds are extremely strong. I'll go over both real quick, but Gas Arrow Deadeye is the stronger version right now if this skill is not nerfed tomorrow. As you can see here, this build is 4 million DPS, which is quite a bit for how much they just nerfed everything at extremely reasonable gear levels. We have a Death's Harp. This is like a, one Exalt bow. Usually it's very, very cheap. North Ball also very, very cheap, although you want a high corruption. And then it's just like basic gear. Quiver is probably the best piece here, a 5 mod quiver. But besides that, Amulet is 3 mods, rings are 2 mods, using the nerfed Ingenuity, only 30%, 3 prop jewels, no quiver bonus, and it's 4 million DPS. On day 1, you're probably looking at like, 1.5 to 2 million DPS, which is still very, very strong for day 1 in this new nerfed game. So yeah, this build is looking quite exceptional. Also do keep in mind on how I resist or like life filled out. So you're still at a base 2k ES, and you're probably at like 1.6k to 1.7k life. With over 30k evasion, I am using a nerfed Wind Dancer here. So this is the nerfed Wind Dancer, so 34k evasion post patch is quite good. So your defense should be quite nice. You also have Ghost Dance, Grim Feast is out of the game. So we're using Ghost Dance instead, which is also still quite good. This amount of evasion, this amount of ES plus life will keep you quite comfy in maps. Also really high movement speed, 55% movement speed, and you technically can get higher if you grab more movement speed nodes. The one reason why I want to start Deadeye is because of Tailwind. Tailwind just makes you so fast, and they slowed the game down by a lot this patch. Queen of Forest nerf, Temporalis nerf, and you can still go Queen of Forest and Deadeye after a while. But yeah, I want to go fast, and Deadeye has all the movement speed nodes around it, right? You get movement speed here, you get movement speed here, more movement speed here, movement speed over here and here, right? You just get so many movement speed nodes that other classes just don't have access to, and it makes you feel so much better day 1. Amazon, of course, Hunters will also have those nodes as well, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, the 10% movement speed from Tailwind is just extremely nice. So this is my first option. Assuming this is not nerfed at all tomorrow, I'm definitely playing this. Even if we log in tomorrow and this build has a 50% damage nerf for the skill adjustments, it'll still be an extremely strong starter. Now, there's a few key points to note here. One is how this build functions. So if you haven't played a Gas Arrow before, how does this build work? So it's very important to keep Gas Arrow at level 7 or level 8. I think I have like level 14 my guy, which is fine. We have more mana cost reduction because the mana cost of the skill is quite high. So once we do lower tomorrow, make sure to always keep this at low level. But yeah, essentially how the skill functions, you fire your gas arrows, and if it hits the ignited enemy, it'll explode. Now, how do you ignite? Well, you just ignite with Flame Wall. This is how you explode enemies and bosses alike. Now, you'll be like, okay, it's a 2-button build. It's kind of annoying in endgame, except in endgame, it's a 1-button build. So there's 2 different mechanics we're going to use here. So the first tech you're going to use is Radiant Grief. This is slightly nerfed this patch because presence range is only 4 meters to the 6. So this is what people were using last league, and this is what you're using for the budget option to start with. But later on, when you have flat fire damage on your quiver and on your rings, this is very, very important. Make sure to have flat fire everywhere you can. You can then use Ignition on your gas arrow, and your initial gas arrow hit will actually ignite. So you won't have to use Radiant Grief, you won't have to use Flame Wall, you can just attack, and you're just going to naturally ignite. So yeah, this was a tech that was also found last league as well. So this would make it very, very smooth to play and map in. You can't use Ignition at the start, but eventually you can use it. So until then, use Flame Wall, and use Flame Wall until you get Radiant Grief. And then when you have Radiant Grief, you can drop Flame Wall and still use it for bosses. And then eventually you can ignite, and you can use Ignition. There's also other ways to ignite as well, or to help you ignite. You can take these nodes down here. So like 5 points to get this wheel to come this way to get some more ignite chance. Maybe you path up over here and get ignite chance over here as well. Either way, the build is overall pretty smooth to play, and for a post-nerf PoE2, this does look extremely strong in the current meta, at least as we can see right now. Now, it could be nerfed tomorrow, but as long as the nerf is not more than 50%, it should still feel quite comfy to play. Just go over the skills real quick. So your Gas Arrow, Held of Thunder, you can use Held of Ice, but in my opinion, you can't really use Held of Ice until way down the line, because you really want a lot of flat fire and flat land damage, so you also shock. So getting flat cold, like the 3 prefix rings, Will take a little bit more investment, but yeah, eventually Held Up Ice could be nice as well. Ghost Dance, Wind Answer, Flame Wall, Orb of Storms. This is utility. So this Orb of Storms gives you Fauna of Rage, Fauna of Blood, and Fauna of Mana. So life regen, mana regen, and rage. And rage is more damage. So you just place this down, stand in it, and you get a lot of buffs. Eye of Winter, you just self-cast this like every 4 seconds on a boss, and it'll pretty much double your crit chance, which doubles your damage. So yeah, make sure to use this as well. This is only for bosses though, or maybe very, very tanky rest to start. Is that you don't need Death's Heart to play this build. You can just use a rare dual string bow until you get this, but do try to get this as fast as possible. It's a tier 3 unique, so hopefully it's not too expensive. At most it might be 1 or 2 divines, but like I said, you can use a dual string bow until then. It's still quite good. Northpaw is the other mandatory unique when you go crit, because this gives you 9.76% base critical hit chance. And Death's Heart gives you a ton of crit multi in the weapon, and this build scales with multiple arrows. The more arrows you have, the more gas arrow explosions you're going to get. This combo right here is extremely strong. Northpaw's base crit's only 8%. You do want to eventually get a corruption for 9.7%. That will be a little bit more expensive, but the base 8% Northpaw is good enough, and it should only be 1 or 2 exalts. And you don't need this until you get reach mid-map, yellow tier maps or something, right? Besides that, gear's pretty basic. You're looking for a 4 prop crit with this. It's very important to have the 2-point base for the critical hit chance. If you can't get more properties, then attack speed and critical strike damage is also nice here. Helmet, eventually you do want a pure ES helmet after Radiant Greave, because this with Subterfuge Mask gives you a really nice defense, a lot of ES based on your helmet, and a lot of evasion because of Subterfuge Mask. Before then, use Radiant Greave or basic evasion helmet. Body armor, it's very important that the highest evasion rated body armor you can get. This is for 2 reasons. 1, it's for bestial skin. 2nd, it's for spectral ward. So spectral ward gives you max ES based on your evasion and your body armor. So yeah, this is a lot of defense you can see right here, roughly 600 energy shield. So yeah, make sure to get the highest evasion rated body armor you can get. I didn't fill out my resist here. So yeah, you have a lot of open suffixes. Do fill out your resist. And then boots, basic evasion, movement speed boots, you get life here as well. I just lose on just my movement speed. Amulet, the only important stat here is 50% increased maximum ES to have more defense. The crit and crit damage bonus is nice, but it's not needed at all. It's just some extra damage. Rings, try to get flat fire and flat land damage. And then eventually Ingenuity. Before then, just use a rare belt. This should be also, I assume, a lot cheaper new patch, because not everyone's going to be using this anymore, unless they increase the rarity of it. Jewels, you really just want double crit on your jewels. Third mod doesn't really matter all that much. Quiver bonus is good, but it is heavily nerfed as well. So yeah, that's everything about the build. I also didn't fill out all the jewel slots, as you can see here, because they are nerfing the amount of jewel slots we're getting in the tree. So I didn't want to put in all the jewel slots. Also keep in mind, the skill tree is also changing quite heavily, which I can't show you because we don't know what it looks like. But with that said, hopefully this gives you a nice rough plan of what you should be doing with your build. You can, even with the skill tree changes, you should be able to make some adjustments, or just, follow what I'm going to do in a day or 2. By the way, I hope this does help. As for the Deadeye Light Arrow, same deal here. The tree is pretty much exactly the same. There's not really a lot of variety here when building these trees as a bow build. They're pretty much all exactly the same now. Once again, I'm not taking these jewel slots because they are removing jewel slots from the game. I don't know which jewel slots are removing, so I'm just taking as few jewel slots as possible because we don't know which ones we're gonna have available. Now in game, you should always take every 3-point jewel socket available. So if this is available in game, then do take it, but I assume it's going to be removed. Besides that, it's using some of the same tech as before, where you're using Northpaw for the base crit with a dual string. Now for the dual string, you just want the highest DPS bow, preferably Fizz or Lightning base, with a crit damage on the suffix that's multiplicative with other crit modifiers. Northpaw just makes it very, very strong. If you do get a bow with base crit, 4 to 5% base crit, then you can drop Northpaw and just instead use regular gloves, rare gloves with flat damage and attack speed. And then helmet, same idea as before. Body armor, same idea as before. And same for the amulet, boots, and rings. Only difference on the amulet. On the amulet, you do want spirit on the bow build, and you also want plus level projectiles if you can get it. This would be quite expensive, but yeah, you want spirit and max CS at least. Now this light arrow build is my second plan. If the gas arrow build is just, heavily nerfed, the nerf by 80% or something, the DPS is a lot lower as you can see, but this is for AoE clear, not single target. For single target, you also have Lightning Rod. Your single target, assuming we have enough new support gems where you can 6-link both Lightning Rod and Lightning Arrow, it should be roughly about 1 million to 1.2 million single target DPS, which is not that much, but it should still be fine to get you through all endgame bosses in 0.2. This is mostly just to be a speed clear mapper, right? You have very high movement speed. Lightning Arrow, despite the nerfs of Herald Shannon, it's still probably one of the best mappers, if not the best mappers in the game. It's still very, very strong, just Herald of Thunder alone without Herald of Ice. Eventually down the line, maybe getting Against the Darkness, you can put in Herald of Ice, Now, of course, it won't change, but it's still very, very strong. This should be a very, very comfy mapper. You can still do all content in the game with this build. You still, pretty tanky, just about like life on gear. You have 2.6k ES and 1.3k life. So this is going to be my second option, assuming Gas Arrow is nerfed. If Gas Arrow is not nerfed, I'm most likely playing that. Just to show the skills real quick. So yeah, Land Arrow, now these gems aren't finalized. We are getting new gems tomorrow. I am going to try out Fork, because Fork did get buffed as well in the patch notes. If you do want more damage, you can just drop Fork for whatever gives you the highest next damage. Maybe close combat or a new support gem. Rod, this is not really filled out because once again, new support gems. You do want the highest CP support gems on Rod. You probably won't use Overcharge because it shocks you in a new patch. Hat is pretty bad, but there's like nothing else to use here. Hopefully there's more support gems tomorrow. Auto Thunder with some basic gems. Ghost Stance Fast Forward. This is how we're going to recover ES now with Grim Feast nerfed. Fast Forward is very important as it makes the stacks of Ghost Stance stack faster. Wind Dancer, still good at the nerfs. And then Cast on Shock Eye of Winter. This is for bosses. I think for mapping, you could do the old tech of Cast on Freeze or Voltaic Mark. That might be an option as well. Something we were doing the first month of 0.1. So do mess around with that as well. Cast on Freeze Voltaic Mark was quite nice before. Now for bosses, you do want to self-cast a Voltaic Mark. You also want to self-cast a Conductivity with Curse Crown as well. This will give you a lot more damage for bosses. As you can see here, if I enable this, it gives me like 130k more DPS. Now this doesn't reflect here, but this should also give like another like 100k DPS. So these are very, very important to cast for bosses. It's almost like doubling your damage. So yeah, do make sure to have these on for bosses. Besides that, yeah, pretty much the same LA build as before. The character has changed since 0.1. The big change is, of course, Hoa being drastically nerfed. And with Hoa being drastically nerfed, you lose a ton of flat lightning damage. And because you lose a ton of flat lightning damage, something like Rod, line damage from non-critical hits is lucky, is not as good because you don't have the same amount of flat line as you did before. This is why we're now so more going for the crit variant. You also lose a ton of jewel sockets, so like traveling like all the way over here and stuff is also less valuable because you won't be getting all these jewel sockets as well. So with these changes in mind, Hoa nerfed, we're going to crit base with North Pole now since these skills are very, very, very strong. Once again, 8% North Poles are completely fine, but you eventually do want to cut the version for 9.7%. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. Like I said, I'm most likely going to start Gas Arrow. If Gas Arrow is way too nerfed, I'll start Deadeye Land Arrow. As for Amazon, I do have a Gas Arrow Amazon POB. I did try to do an Amazon POB for Land Arrow. Now, I do not recommend Amazon at all for Land Arrow. Losing the +1 projectile, so it hurts way too much early on. But you can play Amazon Gas Arrow if you want. It actually is higher DPS. The downside here is that 1, you are slower, and 2, you have less evasion because you're missing a 150% increase from Tailwind and the whole Amazon node where you get increased evasion on helmet, boots, and gloves. You can't really utilize until you're, have really, really good gear. You also have more point investment as Amazon. You do grab a lot more accuracy nodes. That's something to keep in mind as well. I feel like for day 1, while you can make this work for Amazon, it's just so much harder to make it work. Deadeye is just so much more smooth for day 1. You have a lot easier time and a lot better time in my opinion. Also, if you do want to play Spears, I do think Deadeye for Spears can also be extremely good. This node right here, Throw and Chase, is being buffed. It's no longer a 50% chance to double, it's a 100% chance to double in the next patch, and every ranged spear skill, including Lightning Spear, has Frenzy Charge consumption, so there's also a chance that Deadeye is the best spear ascendancy as well. Either way, Amazon does look extremely strong in the end game. We have a bunch of gear, but I do think more so it's a second character rather than a first character. I'm most likely starting Deadeye. There's a slight chance I do start Amazon. If you want to know which one I start, just watch my stream. Like I said, we don't have all the information yet, so I can't make a full decision myself. Either way, these two builds should be quite good and should get you through tier 15 maps and at least be able to kill, all pinnacle bosses, even up until tier 4, if nothing has changed from what I'm showing you. So yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. But this is my plans for League Start, and if you want to follow, then I'm going to be doing video updates, of course, like over the next week of what I'm doing. Yeah, that's about it.